Let me ask you something simple, but real. Have you ever looked into the mirror and felt that quiet ache that whispers, "I'm not enough"? Maybe it came after a setback at work, when all your efforts went unnoticed. Maybe it crept in after someone you loved chose to walk away, leaving you questioning what you could have done differently. Or maybe it came not from one big moment, but from the accumulation of 1,000 tiny voices, the ones that belong to society, family, friends, telling you who you should be, what you should look like, how much you should achieve, how little space you should take up. And without realizing it, you started to dim your own light, hiding pieces of yourself just to feel accepted, to feel safe. But let me tell you something with all the tenderness in my heart. Your self-doubt is not evidence that you are broken. It's not proof that you're lacking or flawed. It is, in fact, a quiet cry from within, a sign that you have been holding yourself together for far too long without the softness, the care and the love you so deeply need and deserve. You've been strong in ways that no one saw, carrying emotional burdens in silence, putting others first while placing your own heart on the shelf. And now that strength is asking for balance. It's asking for healing. Today, I want to speak directly to that part of you that has forgotten what it feels like to believe in yourself. That tired, beautiful part that only needs a little compassion to begin to rise again. Because self-confidence isn't a trait reserved for the lucky or the perfect. It's not something you stumble into by accident. It's a practice, a choice, a slow and steady return to yourself, not the version the world expects, but the truest, most courageous version that's been waiting quietly for permission to come home. Part 1. Stop measuring yourself through other people's eyes. We live in a world that constantly bombards women with messages about who we should be, how we should look, how we should act, as if our value is something that must be earned through perfection. Be thinner, they say, as if our bodies must shrink to fit someone else's comfort. Be prettier, as though beauty is the only currency we have to offer. Be smart, but not intimidating. Be ambitious, but don't step on too many toes. Be independent, but not so much that you make others uncomfortable. And above all, always be pleasant. Always smile. These messages are subtle, sometimes wrapped in compliments, sometimes disguised as concern, but over time they become a chorus that drowns out your own voice. And when you inevitably fall short of these ever-changing, contradictory standards, because everyone does, you begin to question yourself. You start to compare your ordinary days, your messy growth, your doubts and missteps, to someone else's polished, filtered, perfect-looking life. You internalize the comments like, "Why aren't you more like her?" Or, "That's not how a woman should behave," until you start believing that maybe you are too loud, too emotional, too opinionated, or maybe not smart enough, not pretty enough, not woman enough. But the truth, the deep, unwavering truth, is this: you were never meant to be a replica of someone else's idea of who you should be. You are not here to fit into a box built by someone else's fears and expectations. You were born with your own story, your own rhythm, your own kind of magic, and no one has the right to take that away from you. The first and most powerful step in reclaiming your self-worth is to stop placing the mirror of your value in the hands of others. Because what they see, what they project, what they expect, none of that is your truth. Your truth is found in the quiet moments when you remember who you really are beneath all the noise. And that truth, that you, is already enough. Part 2, self-doubt is a sign of exhaustion, not weakness. Sometimes we mistake self-doubt for failure. We feel those familiar waves of uncertainty rise inside us, and instead of pausing to understand them, we immediately turn inward with blame. We think, why am I like this? Why can't I just be stronger? Or, if I feel this unsure, then maybe I'm not good enough after all. But what if I told you that self-doubt doesn't always mean you're failing? What if it's actually the quiet voice of a soul that's simply exhausted? What if your uncertainty is not a flaw, but a gentle signal that you've been giving and carrying and holding everything together for far too long without a moment to breathe. Because, let's be honest, women carry so much. We hold families together. We are emotional anchors, invisible planners, unspoken nurturers. We show up for our partners, for our children, for our friends, for our colleagues, even when we feel like we're falling apart inside. We silence our own needs so that others can speak. We delay our own dreams so that others can chase theirs. And eventually, that self-abandonment turns into a quiet ache, a sense that maybe we don't matter as much. But you do. You always have. So the next time you feel that tightness in your chest, the anxiety, the heaviness, the moment you question your own worth, I urge you not to scold yourself or push through blindly. Instead, pause. Place your hand on your heart and gently ask yourself, what am I still carrying that I've forgotten to release? Because rest is not something you have to earn. Care is not something you must justify. You do not need to reach a breaking point to deserve a break. You are not a machine, you are a living, breathing, feeling human being. And self-care is not indulgent. It's not weak. It's the strongest thing you can do for yourself. Tending to your own needs emotionally, physically, spiritually is not selfish. It is sacred. You deserve that care not because you've done enough, but because you are enough. Part 3, you don't need to be perfect. Just be you. Let that truly sink in, not just into your mind, but into your bones, your breath, your being. You don't need flawless skin, the most impressive resume, the most polished voice, or the approval of every person in the room to be worthy of love, belonging, or joy. You don't need to fit a standard. What you need, what you've always needed, is the courage to show up as yourself, fully, unapologetically. And yes, that includes the parts of you that you've been told to quiet, to cover, to change. Your quirks, your wounds, your messy journey, the way your voice cracks when you're vulnerable, the way you laugh too loud or cry when no one expects it, all of it is welcome here. Confidence doesn't grow in perfection. It grows in truth. It blooms when you stop trying to look like you have it all figured out and start choosing to stand tall in the middle of your uncertainty. It's found in the moment you whisper to yourself, even now I am still worthy. And maybe you have scars on your body, in your heart, on your spirit. But don't you dare hide them. Don't cover them up for the comfort of those who haven't walked your path. Scars are the soft silver threads that stitch your strength into being. They're not blemishes. They are your survival stories. They are the echoes of battles you faced and the evidence that you are still here, still rising, still choosing to begin again. Your imperfection is not something to be ashamed of. It is your signature. It is the raw, breathtaking texture of your humanity. It is the very thing that makes you relatable, beautiful, and real. So instead of chasing perfection, return to yourself. And remember, what makes you lovable isn't the version of you that tries to impress. It's the one that dares to be honest. Part 4. Confidence is a journey, not a destination. One of the biggest misconceptions we've been led to believe about self-confidence is that it's some final destination. That one day, after enough success, approval, or self-work, we'll suddenly arrive at a place where we feel completely sure of ourselves forever. But confidence doesn't work like that. It's not a trophy you earn once and display proudly on a shelf. It's not a light switch you flip and leave on for good. Confidence is a living, breathing process, a relationship you build with yourself every single day. It's in the quiet choices, choosing to speak to yourself with compassion instead of cruelty, choosing to keep showing up even when your voice trembles or your hands shake, choosing to try again after you've fallen, disappointed yourself, or been rejected. It's the voice that says, maybe I don't have all the answers right now, but I believe in my ability to grow, to learn, and to figure it out. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You don't need to take giant, bold leaps to prove your worth. Sometimes the most powerful acts of confidence are the smallest ones. saying no to something that no longer serves you, wearing that outfit you've always loved but were too afraid to be too much in, expressing your opinion in a room where you once felt invisible, setting one tiny boundary that says, I matter too. These aren't just random actions, they are seeds. And when you water them daily with attention, with patience, and with love, they begin to grow into something solid, something rooted, something unshakable. That's how real confidence is born, not from perfection or fearlessness, but from persistence, from honesty, from daring to take one more small step toward your authentic self, even when your knees are still shaking. So remember this, especially on the hard days. You don't have to feel brave to be brave. You just have to be willing to begin, and then begin again. Part 5. Facing yourself is the first act of healing. We live in a world that teaches us to constantly adjust, improve, perfect, as if our value lies in how polished we appear to others. We spend endless time trying to fix what seems wrong on the outside. We try new diets, skin routines, productivity hacks, affirmation scripts, all in hopes that maybe, just maybe, we'll finally feel worthy. But real healing doesn't begin in the mirror or in the opinions of others. It begins quietly, internally. It begins the moment we stop running from ourselves and start sitting with what's really there, the questions we've been afraid to ask, the pain we've tried to numb, the truth we've silenced in order to keep the peace. So let me ask you something, not as a checklist, but as an invitation. When was the last time you slowed down enough to ask yourself, what do I need right now? Not what your boss needs, not what your family expects, not what your friends or your partner or society is silently demanding. No, what you need in your heart. It might be something simple, a quiet moment, a breath of fresh air, a full night's sleep, a soft song and a hot cup of tea. Or maybe it's something deeper, forgiveness for something you've carried far too long, space to grieve something that hurt more than you allowed yourself to admit, permission to not be okay for a little while. Or maybe it's connection, a walk in nature, a deep conversation, a chance to just be seen. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to give it to yourself. You do not need permission to tend to your soul. You do not need to earn rest or justify why you deserve peace. And you don't need to keep proving your worth by constantly serving everyone else. Because healing your self-worth isn't about becoming someone new. It's not about fixing or improving or transforming into a better version that will finally be enough. No, it's about returning, coming home to yourself. To that version of you who existed before the world began whispering doubts into your ear. Before comparison and judgment taught you to shrink. Before you learned to be less so you could be loved more. Go stand in front of the mirror. Not to criticize, but to connect. Look yourself in the eyes, not just with sight, but with presence. And say softly, like you would to a child who's been hurt, I see you, I hear you. I'm here. And I'm sorry I haven't always been listening, but I am now, and I love you. That's not just a self-help practice. That's a sacred act. That's how healing begins, not with grand declarations, but with one quiet, courageous moment of honesty with yourself. Part 6, you are not alone. And now, perhaps the most powerful and freeing truth of all, you don't have to walk this road alone. For far too long, women have been taught to suffer in silence, to smile through pain, to say, I'm fine when their hearts are breaking. We've learned to carry more than we should, the weight of other people's expectations, the pressure to always hold it. Together, the fear of being seen as too emotional, too weak, or too much. And so, quietly, secretly, so many of us begin to believe that our struggles are shameful, that our wounds are something to hide, that asking for help makes us less. But the truth? You are not the only one who feels this way. You are not broken for feeling tired. You are not weak for needing rest. You are not wrong for wanting support. You are human, and humans are not meant to heal in isolation. We are wired for connection. We are shaped by relationships. We bloom in the presence of love dots, so let yourself reach out. Make that call to the friend who really sees you. Send that message asking, "Can we talk?" Look for the people who make you feel safe, not judged. Find a mentor, a sisterhood, a circle however small that lifts you up when life gets heavy. Because healing happens in spaces where you are allowed to be your full self. Raw, honest, joyful, messy, growing. Healing happens when you can say, "I'm struggling," and someone replies, "Me too. Let's figure it out together." There is nothing weak about leaning on someone. In fact, there is a special kind of courage in being vulnerable and letting others witness your healing, not just your highlight reel. Let people love you. Let them remind you of your strength when you forget. Let them sit with you in your darkness and hold space for your light to return. Because no matter what you've been told, you were never meant to carry the whole world on your shoulders. Sister, you are worthy of support. You are worthy of softness. You are worthy of a community that nourishes you, not drains you. You do not have to prove anything to be held. You do not have to earn your right to be seen. The love you long for, the safety, the comfort, the understanding, it's real, it's possible. And it begins the moment you stop hiding and start allowing yourself to be known. Closing, begin today. My dear sister, your journey to self-confidence isn't something that unfolds in one magical moment. It's a quiet, steady path that begins not when you lose weight, not when you get the dream job, not when someone else finally sees your worth, but the very moment you decide that you are already enough. Confidence is not something gifted to you at birth. It is something you grow within, slowly and tenderly, like a garden. And every time you choose to show up for yourself, even when it feels hard, even when your heart is full of doubt, you are planting seeds of strength. You don't need to wait for the perfect version of yourself to start blooming. You don't need to earn your right to feel beautiful, valuable, and powerful. It starts today with a breath, a small step, and the belief that even if the world hasn't always reflected your worth back to you, it doesn't mean it's not there. You are not broken. You are blooming. And even in the mess sciences, the doubts, the slow progress, you are still growing into something deeply powerful. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Because everything you need is already inside you, and the world is waiting to meet the woman you are becoming. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.